Hello and welcome. I'm Millicent Walker. Tonight, Pakistani girl education activist Malala Yousafzai meets acting President Professor Yousafzai, asks federal government to declare state of emergency in education sector. Appeal court in Lagos upholds the conviction of 9 foreigners for crude oil theft. Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria demands timeline from the National Broadcasting Commission for digital switchover. And European Union to restrict export of inflatable boats to Libya to curb the smuggling of migrants.
And on business news tonight, Nigeria's food index surges to 19.91% in June, and headline inflation falls further to 16.1%.
On sports news tonight, Frankie Fredericks gets a provisional suspension from the International Association of Athletics Federation for possible ethics breach.
We begin tonight with the visit of girls' education activist Malala Yousafzai to Nigeria, her second in 3 years. Meeting with the acting president, Professor Yousafzai, at the State House, Abuja, the Nobel laureate and founder of the Malala Fund asked the federal government to declare a state of emergency in the nation's education sector. The Pakistani schoolgirl who survived an attack by the Taliban in 2012 reiterated her goal to see an end to the need of the girl child with regards to education. She was accompanied by her father and other girl rights activists, which had some members of the federal cabinet also in attendance.
So I was really honored to meet His Excellency, the acting president of Nigeria, and it was a very good meeting. I had very good response, and I highlighted a few issues. The first one was to ask the government to declare a state of emergency for education, because the education of Nigerian girls and boys is really important, and the states, the government, the federal government and the local government, they all should be united for this. Secondly, the spending, it should be made public, and thirdly, the Child Rights Act should be implemented in all states. So this was my 3-point ask, and I was really happy to hear positive response from the acting president that they are happy to ensure that they are happy with the suggestion of implementing emergency and for education. So and that they are happy to work more on education, that they are united. And I'm really happy to hear positive responses from the ministers as well, that they are ensuring that education is prioritized and that every girl's and every boy's education in Nigeria is given priority. I'm really excited to see them going back to their homes and to their families and continuing their education. But I hope the other girls who are still under the abduction, that those Chibok girls and all other girls who are under the abduction of Boko Haram are released.
In other stories, the Court of Appeal sitting in Lagos has upheld the judgment of a federal high court which convicted and sentenced 9 foreigners to 5 years in prison for stealing 3.4 million metric tons of crude oil from Nigeria. Justice Frederick Oho, who read the judgment today, held that the appeal of the foreigners lacked merit, subsequently dismissing it. Our judiciary correspondent Shola Shiele reports.
In March 2015, 5 Filipinos and 4 Bangladeshi nationals were intercepted aboard their vessel MT Asteris by the Nigerian Navy ship Beecraft during a routine patrol in Lagos while trying to export some petroleum products. Upon interrogation, the captain and any of the crew members could not produce any relevant document authorizing the lifting and destination of the petroleum products they had on board. They were arrested, and after investigation, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, on June 18, 2015, arraigned the foreigners and their vessel before Justice Ibrahim Buba on a 4-count charge of conspiracy and illegal dealing in petroleum products, an offense contrary to and punishable under Section 17 of the Miscellaneous Offences Act of 2004. When the charges were read to them, they all pleaded not guilty and were granted bail in the sum of 50 million naira each. Trial commenced on June 23rd, and the EFCC called 6 witnesses in proof of its case against the foreigners, before the court finally arrived at a guilty verdict 6 months later. In handing down the sentence, Justice Buba said he was satisfied that the EFCC proved its case beyond reasonable doubts. The judge also said that the failure of the convicts to supply evidence that they had a lawful permit to deal in crude oil further strengthened the prosecution's case that they were trying to export stolen products. Justice Buba reaffirmed the court's commitment to sending a strong signal to Nigerians and foreigners alike that the country had laws and the laws were enforceable. He then sentenced the 5 Filipinos and 4 Bangladeshi nationals to a jail term of 5 years each on the 4 counts, with an option of a 5 million naira fine for each count. The sentences were to run concurrently, as the convicts could either choose to spend 5 years each in prison or pay the fine of 20 million naira each. Their vessel and the cargo on board were also to be forfeited to the federal government of Nigeria. Dissatisfied with this judgment, the foreigners, through their lawyers, headed to the appeal court. The 3-man panel of the Court of Appeal has, however, upheld the judgment of the lower courts. Justice Frederick Hohu, who delivered the judgment, agreed with the submissions of the EFCC prosecutor, Mr. Rotimi Oyedepo, and resolved all the issues against the foreigners. He held that the appeal lacked merit and subsequently dismissed it. Shola Shoyeli, Channels Television News.
Investors in the Nigerian film and music industry have been promised a tax relief by the federal government as part of efforts to strengthening the Nigerian creative industry. The Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, announced this at the 2-day Creative Nigeria Summit, where she is representing the acting president as keynote speaker. She also acknowledged the potentials of the industry, which is already captured at 1.42% of the current GDP.
To grow this industry, to take it from the 1.42% that it is at the moment to its potential, which is probably around 4 to 5, we do need to step in. We do need to provide more support, and we are going to do this. So what are the things that are being considered? Clearly, one of the obvious ones is direct government funding. But the truth is, you don't actually need direct government funding. You need government to enable you to find your own funding, because you have shown up until now that you have the ability to do that. We simply need to support you better. How can we do that? Finding better ways of harnessing and supporting your revenue stream, because it is your revenue stream that makes your projects bankable. What we're looking at doing is we've identified under the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan 3 very critical industries, of course of which the creative was one. We're looking at a situation where, like has been done in other countries, we provide tax relief for those who will invest in your industry, those who are ready to venture and risk. So whilst you're seeing me running around looking for how to collect more tax, we're also, on the other hand, trying to see how we can incentivize people to invest.
Finance Minister Mrs. Kemi Adeosun speaking there. The protracted crisis between herdsmen and natives of Southern Kaduna in Nigeria's northwest may soon come to an end if recent agreements are adhered to. Representatives of the two groups gave the indication in Kafanchan at a peace and reconciliatory meeting organized by a non-governmental organization, where the two parties all agreed to bury their differences and chart a new course that will move the area forward.
The clashes between Fulani herdsmen and the people of Southern Kaduna have brought pains to many. But in Jama, Kaura, Kauri and Sanga local government areas of Kaduna State, the people are still counting their losses. This reconciliatory meeting is expected to finally usher in peace to Southern Kaduna and possibly bring an end to the blame game that has over the years dominated previous peace talks.
We have to put all the conflicts that have happened, the history, and put it behind us and look for the possible way and solutions to it, which virtually at the end of it, everybody agreed, and we understand that peace will come back to reign now.
Recent interventions by security agencies may have quelled the tension, but the conveners of this meeting hope that, amongst other things, parties involved will put their differences behind them and seek amicable solutions to the crisis.
There's a common understanding, in fact, in the process of our reaching out, one point we kept hearing over and over was that from all the various parties, whether Fulanis, from the natives, whoever, is that they are tired of the conflicts and they want a way forward. They want to resolve these issues.
After much deliberations, leaders of the two groups agreed to reconcile, but they want the federal government to review the ECOWAS protocol on the free movement of persons and goods by checkmating the influx of marauding herdsmen into the country. They also called for the establishment of a development commission that will be saddled with the responsibility of rebuilding communities destroyed during the conflict.
A lot of houses have been burned and several things have happened, but yet there is no single IDP camp in Southern Kaduna. And it's necessary to have an IDP camp so that there will be reconstruction, there will be development, and there will be true reconciliation and, some form of reparation, some form of compensation.
At the end of the meeting, active parties in the crisis expressed optimism that with genuine commitment, the resolutions will provide a lasting solution to the conflict.
The rehabilitation of healthcare infrastructure by the Adamawa state government is receiving commendations and the support of international humanitarian agencies, with the latest coming from the European Union and UNICEF. Drugs and hospital equipment worth over 1.2 billion naira were delivered to the state in a partnership that hopes to improve the access to quality and affordable healthcare in the northeastern state.
Consolidating on the gains of the second phase of the maternal and child health project in Adamawa state and the rehabilitation of healthcare facilities destroyed during years of Boko Haram insurgency, the state governor, Mohammed Jibriya, is here to receive the support of two international aid agencies, the European Union and UNICEF. Representatives of the agencies have brought with them drugs and hospital equipment worth over 1.2 billion naira. And these items they inspect with the state governor. After the inspection, a symbolic handover sets the tone for comments. First, the chairman of the State Primary Healthcare Development Agency.
We have made what we needed. Not everything that you have seen here has been designed for our program. And all we need to take care of our women and children and also the general population is what we have ordered. And with the logistics support of UNICEF, we're able to sort out for everything.
The representative of UNICEF asks that the equipment be put to proper use.
We have people who have worked in this area, say from different countries, and also every support that we can provide to the state to make sure that these equipments reach where they're supposed to be reached and to be used for those people that are supposed to be used for.
Meanwhile, the state governor is excited about the boost that this intervention brings to the health sector under his watch.
As we are aware, we have already declared state of emergency on health, and we are already reconstructing 4 major general hospitals in the state, and we are already upgrading some of the cottage hospitals. With this kind of items that we have worth 6 million euro, and only 10% that is here, I can assure you, Adamawa, we are good to go.
With a lot more still being expected, the first batch of consignments are to be shared among the 226 primary healthcare centers across the state.
In part 2, after the break, at least 9 people killed and 18 others injured in a suicide bomb attack on a mosque in the outskirts of Maiduguri, the Borno state capital. You stay with us.